Welcome back, enthusiasts. With Season 9 looming upon us, there are countless new builds, new seasonal mechanics, and a new meta to get our teeth into. One of the most anticipated of these new meta builds is the Hydra Sorcerer, a build that I've personally championed since around Season 4. With the new unique, aspect changes, more damage scaling, and area effect damage, this is shaping up to be one of the best builds of the season, both for leveling and the endgame. Want to run around laying waste to demons using nothing but your Hydra summons? I've got you covered. We'll go through the build planner, breaking down each component, which will take you from level 1 to 60 in no time, setting you up for the endgame transition. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so I've got the build planner here. This is on Mobalytics. This is designed to be a level 1 to 60 Hydra leveling build. If you're interested in playing an endgame build, this will transition straight into my endgame guide. This is linked at the top, as you can see here. This has got 3 sections, variants in it, one for level 1 to 14, one for level 15 to 29, and one for level 30 to 60. These are designed to hit your enchant breakpoints and your power breakpoints, and as you run through them, the skill trees will only have the skill points allocated to them that can be allocated, as long as you've got all 12 of your renown points, assuming you've got Vessel of Hatred as an expansion. If you do not have those points, then you'll just have to get those as you go along. But this build is designed to have those. So what we'll do, guys, is we'll go through each section's skill tree, and then we'll go through the items and the aspects and the runes and the gems and the mercenaries and such, because those pretty much stay the same across all variants. So for each variant, you will see at the top here that you've got, it tells you how many points you get you from now and how many you should have at level 14. And then when you hit level 15 to move on to the next variant. So make sure you read these variant summaries because these are very interesting. And before we go into the skill tree, it's also worth noting, if you do want to know more about the build, I have a full gameplay loop down below. If you go down a little bit further, there's a small amount of detail into how it works and the damage multipliers. And then if you want much more in-depth explanations, you can see here there is a whole load of in-depth explanations ranging from leveling tips to start tips, enchants, uniques, runes, heraldic powers, aspects, elixirs, and so on. And if you follow the build, you will see here there will be a changelog that will be updated as things change. So make sure you check those out if you're interested in more how the build works. So before we go into skill tree, it's worth noting, I have always played Hydra without any defensive skills, because getting access to tenuous agility and tenuous destruction early on are very powerful for damage and movement speed. So I'm following suit and carrying on with this. This will be different to everyone else's Hydra build, because most people tend to prefer playing with the defensive skills. But honestly, you do not need that in the very endgame version of this build anyway, as I've shown in previous seasons. So let's go into the skill trees here, guys. Level 1 to 14, we're pretty much just going to take 2 points in Firebolt, come down, take 1 point in Fireball, and take 3 points in Potent Warding. Now, Firebolt will be very useful later on, but for now, it's just there just to make sure we can get down. Fireball, we're preempting our level 15 enchant, and the Potent Warding is just so that we can gain more resistances. This will just be very nice for defense early on. Coming down to the next section, we've got 3 points in Glass Cannon, 1 point in Energy Focus, 1 point in Damper Layer. This is going to make us take a bit more damage, but it's countered by this barrier and damage reduction here, and it's just going to grant us a phenomenally large amount of damage for this stage of the game. This will just help you blast this early section without you even needing to worry. This next section is where all the magic happens. We take 1 point in Hydra, come through to Enhanced Hydra and Roaring Hydra. This gives us access to burning damage on the Hydra, and this is a burning focus Hydra build. We then take 2 points in Familiar, coming through to the middle point, Enhanced Familiar. This will allow us to gain access to our Familiars, and then 1 point in the Ice Blades and 2 points into Lightning Spear. So what we're doing here is we're preempting when we're going to stack into Primordial Binding. So we're just getting ready so that we can max out our 10 stacks of summons all the time. We then come down. We do not take Firewall to start with, because as useful as this is early on, we can actually get away without this in the first 14 levels and without putting pressure on our mana. I tend to prefer to come straight down for Inferno here to make sure that we can grab Inferno and Prime Inferno. But before we can do that, we need to spend a few more points. So what I also prefer to do is I like to max out Hydra here. So you max out Hydra, this gives your Hydras way more damage, and then you can come down and take your first 2 points in Inferno. This gives us access to a lot of stuff like extra runes, so we can activate, we got a second activator rune, it gives us a pull-in, so it gives us some crowd control. This does a lot of damage early on, and so on and so on. And depending on what aspects you drop, you may well be able to get the aspects of Armageddon as well. And this just brings down meteorites when you cast it, and that just clears the screen, especially if you've got the Ton rune on as well, which you can use with the other runes we'll go into in a little while. So it's also worth noting that the reason I know what I'm doing there is because I have done it many times. But to follow that exact leveling path, you do not need to go and watch this video over and over again. You can click the leveling path tab here, and this will show you pretty much what I just went through there for those first 14 levels. And there is one of those for every single section, as you'll see. So if I go to 15 to 29, there's one here as well, and with the skill tree, and so on. So make sure you check that out, guys. That will help you out a lot. So going from here, as you can see, we came down all the way to here to Prime Inferno. So at number 27, we're going to carry on, and we're going to take the next Inferno point, which is going to be Supreme Inferno. This makes us do a lot more damage, and I mean, our Hydras pretty much cost virtually nothing anyway, but this just means that we're going to get a lot more damage while we've got Inferno active. So this is very, very nice indeed. And then after this, we're going to come down and we're going to take all of our primordial binding stacks, and we're going to start taking all of the extra little bits and extra damage passes, as you can see here, looking to spec into Firewall near the end to make sure that we've got access to Firewall, but we've gotten all of the damage multipliers. So the reason we spec into primordial binding next is because for every summon we have active up to 10, this is going to give us 6% summoning damage, 6% movement speed, and 12% mana regeneration, which means at 10 stacks you're going to have 60% multiplicative damage, 60% movement speed, and 120% mana regeneration. This pretty much solves all of the problems on your build without even needing to do much at all. And then on top of this, you can take your final familiar point for more damage, and you can come up here for the extra invoked Ice Blades to get more attack speed when you've got Ice Blades active, and to help Ice Blades reduce their own cooldown. So between all of those alone, you're going to be getting into between 5 to 10 stacks of primordial binding all of the time. And then with the use of clever runes, we'll be able to get that to 10 all the time during this stage. So you're just going to go around with maximum primordial binding, running extremely fast, never running out of mana, and doing stupid amounts of damage. And then on top of this, as we say, we have come down and we've taken Endless Pyre, 1 point, so we can get 2 in Warmth. Warmth here is extremely good for defense early on. It gives you an insane amount of life sustain. So I would highly recommend putting 1 or 2 of these in here. Later on, you can possibly take these out, but to start with, they're very, very strong. And then on top of this, we just come down and take our key passive. Our key passive combustion here is an extra cherry on top of the cake. It has been nerfed a little bit since previous seasons, but it's still extremely strong. So once you take this, you will notice an enormous buff to your build, especially now that it scales using damage over time affixes as well. So you're going to want to cap this up to 100x as soon as possible. And then, as we said, we take Firewall here. So I like to come in and take Mage's Firewall because this allows the bonus for the multiplicative burning damage while enemies are standing in your Firewall to last for 3 seconds after they've left the Firewall, making it a bit easier to actually sustain it. And since we're in the level 15 to 29 variants now, we are now taking our first enchant, which is Fireball. Fireball, once you unlock this level 15, allows you and your teammates to both kill enemies and explode them for damage. And this just makes farming extremely fast for you and a team. So it's highly recommended to have this on, especially at least one on within the team. So yes, make sure you've got that on, guys. So moving on to the level 30 to 60 range. At this point, at level 60, you should have up to 71 skill points. We take our second enchant at level 30, which is familiar. This will just help you cap your primordial stacks a bit easier. You can change this out for anything else, like Firebolt if you like, for example. But I like to take familiar at this stage just to make your life a little bit smoother. And then if you come into the skill tree, we're pretty much just going to finish off taking all of the passives we haven't taken already, defensive and offensive. So we're going to take all in here to protection. This gives you a really, really high amount of barrier generation when we use cooldowns. We take our 3 on mana shield, giving us a massive amount of damage reduction because we're going to be spending mana all the time once we get the Ophidian Iris amulet. We're going to take 2 more points in Dampen Layer for the extra barrier damage reduction, 3 points in Inner Flames, 3 points in permafrost, 3 points in icy touch, 3 points in elemental synergies, and 3 points in soulfire, and the extra 2 in endless pyre. These all just give us multiplicative damage across the build. There are other multipliers we can take later on in the non-leveling builds, such as Hoarfrost, but for now these will get you to level 60 without any troubles, and to get the other multipliers you'll need to solve other things which you won't be able to do till post level 60. The only other thing we've taken here is we've taken Evocation. Evocation here allows you to gain 12% cooldown reduction from skill tree. This is just very nice for helping you be able to cast your conjurations a bit more often as well. So I would highly recommend this. And that's pretty much it for the skill tree. As I say, we've got the leveling path here. You can come down and check this out whenever you like, and just follow this, no problem. Going into the aspects, these are exactly the same for all 3 variants. I've put them in this way just because none of these are required for the build to function. You can't guarantee get any of these except one, which is shown down below in the extra details. If I open up aspects here, you'll see that the aspect of disobedience can be gained in Kyrgyzstan from the Halls of Damned, but the others are drops only. So really, if you find any of these, that's brilliant. If you find anything else that's useful in the meantime, by all means use that. But if you are lucky enough to find the Serpentine's aspects, or Tenuous Agility, or Tenuous Destruction, or Engulfing Flames, these will all just make your build slap. And yeah, the aspects of Armageddon, it just allows you even more meteorites on your ultimate, so you're just going to end up clearing the screen even more. So this version of the Hydra does not use defensive skills. You do not really need it, and it allows you access to the Tenuous Agility abilities, which are very, very strong because you can't use defensive skills. Nearly every other build will use them. I've always swayed away from it because you just don't really need it on Hydra. But obviously, by all means, if you haven't found any of the Tenuous ability, Tenuous Agility, or Tenuous Destruction aspects, you can stick on any defensive skill you like in the meantime. Coming down to the runes, these are also the same for all 3 variants. So we've got the Seer and the Save rune. This just allows you to keep up a huge amount of Spirit Wolves all the time. It allows you to cap your Primordial Binding stacks pretty much guaranteed all the time. So this is very, very good. If you're lucky enough to drop these, this will make your life extremely easy. And then also with the Zan and Tom rune, because we're casting our ultimate relatively often, every time we cast it, we're just going to spawn a bucket load of Sorcerer meteorites around it, which if you manage to get the aspects of Armageddon, that also casts meteorites when you cast your Inferno. This is just going to clear the screen. You would be surprised how much damage this does. So yes, if you're lucky enough to come across those, they are brilliant. Heraldic spells, the new mechanics of Season 9. These, again, are all the same for all 3 variants. These should just help you absolutely fly through the leveling process. It's worth noting here that I have not used anything here that you cannot get during that leveling process. We're using blue runes only and blue ability arcanas only. So these should all be attainable during the leveling process. Nothing that requires you to have completed that before. So we're using Cosmic Anomaly because they should counter summons. This was bugged on the PTR, but if it's fixed, that will also help your Primordial Binding stacks, easing up on your other summons. And they do quite a good amount of damage, to be honest, and they spawn every 5 seconds, allowing you to keep your other bonuses up pretty often. And we're going to assign that to Hydra, so that every time you cast Hydra, it's going to send them off to go and blow up wherever the Hydra spawned. We take the Smouldering Ember Infusion because it's burning. We're playing into a burning build. It makes complete sense. And getting rid of Chilling Winds will help our Hydra bolts. And then we're using Tranquil Stone because this gives us access to Unstoppable every 4-5 seconds, which with a 5-second summon on Cosmic Anomaly gives us almost permanent Unstoppable, which is very, very useful on Sorcerer because you don't generally have that otherwise unless you're using Flame Shield. Again, another reason why we don't need to take Flame Shield. Volatile Crystal, which will give us more resistances. Now, you can take the bottled... There was one for movement speed, and you can take that. But honestly, I wouldn't bother, because with Primordial Binding, and if you find Tenuous Agility, your movement speed is going to be capped anyway. So I've taken Volatile Crystal, because this will just give you more resistances early on. It'll make you tankier. It'll just make you not have to worry about damage so much. And Reactive Ooze will just give you an immense amount of mana regeneration early on, which will help you a lot as well. You won't even have to worry about resource at all. Gems, damage over time in a weapon, intelligence in the armor, and then we take 3 diamonds in our jewelry just to help with resistances. But if you need armor, by all means take skulls in there as well. In terms of mercenaries, I like to take Variana as my main, and the reason for this is she just gives you a really large amount of attack speed, and this does scale. Base attack speed does scale your Hydra's attack speed up to 100%. And it also gains you a little bit of movement speed as well from when she bloodthirsts you and such. So I quite like the ability, the stacks that she gives you when you're killing with Variana on gives you more movement speed, which means you're going to be able to run around and just gain that movement speed for free with Variana on. So overall, I like taking Variana early on. You'll swap her out later, but to start with, I find her very useful. And I normally just take Rahir here with Bastion and when you become injured as a sort of panic button mechanic. You can also take Subo in your hired mercenary if you like for the damage over time damage and the map hacks, but honestly I personally prefer the movement speed of Variana. This will just help you get to 60 a lot quicker. This is exactly the same for all three variants as well, so be sure to check that out. In terms of the gear stats, you have a tab here which will show you all the gear stats, so I'm not going to go through them all individually, but it's pretty much all using stats that should be easy enough to find. I've not put anything in here that's too crazy, and when you're in your first variant, it will only have 2 stats on the item, so it's achievable on a starter build, and so on. So be sure to check that out as well, guys. So that's pretty much the build, guys. If you've got any questions, leave them down in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your suggestions and ideas and be able to help you if you've got any struggles here. It should be a really, really good build. This has been a super fun build for many seasons, an excellent leveling build, and now we have finally got access to the area effect damage using the Ophidian Iris unique, which we'll go into in the endgame build. We have finally got a Hydra build, which is going to be awesome in the endgame. So hopefully we'll see some of you in Season 9, guys. Keep safe, keep blasting, and see you next time.